want to thank Kathy so very, very much for being with us here today. Our session today is called Planning Ahead to Live Well, How to Optimize Your Health, Happiness, and Safety by Creating a Proactive Seniors Plan. So a little bit about Kathy. Kathy is the founder of Proactive Seniors, a local Alberta advisory service for seniors and their families. Her team of professional advisors come from backgrounds in nursing, home care, pharmacy, physical therapy, and occupational therapy. A shared common passion is to help to ensure that seniors and their loved ones have the support, guidance, and information needed to live well and enjoy their time together. By being experts in the complex realm of seniors supports and seniors housing, the Proactive Seniors team is able to help their clients make informed and timely decisions and choices. Whether hoping to age in place at home or relocate to a seniors living facility, Proactive Seniors advisors will help support seniors stay safe, healthy, and happy so that everybody can be confident and prepared for the future. Thank you so much, Kathy. The floor is yours.
Thank you. That was such a good bio. I don't need to say anything about us anymore. So we'll start. Thank you very much for that introduction and for the invitation to participate in this forum. We do have a quick 1-minute video, which just kind of summarizes everything you just said. So if you are not watching, if you're just listening, I think you can hear the video. And if your technology doesn't support the video, just hold tight. It's only 1 minute, I promise, and then we'll jump into the presentation. So we'll give this a shot.
As we grow older, planning for the future can be overwhelming. We can feel frustrated, not knowing where to find help. Choosing the right path and making the right decisions is hard. But with Proactive Seniors, we do the hard work for you so you can be at ease. Through our expansive network of resources, we build a plan that fits your needs and wishes. Whether you are hoping to stay at home, move to a retirement residence, or are caring for a loved one, our team of experts will help you navigate the complicated world of senior supports, seniors housing. We are your information resource, family liaison, your on-call advisor, your advocate, system navigator, and companion on this journey we call life. And ahead, live well. Proactive Seniors.
Okay, so I think we've already heard who we are. This is just a picture that shows our different team members. And, you know, as Amber introduced, we come from all sorts of different backgrounds, and we're all here together to just help make sure that seniors and their families have the information that they need to make their best decisions. So this presentation is not going to be about us. It's going to be about how you can plan, or you can help a loved one plan, but I just want you to sort of be familiar with who we are. So as per the title of today's presentation, Planning Ahead to Live Well, we're going to discuss how creating a plan can help support the goals of being healthy, happy, and safe as one progresses through the journey of life. Staying home as you age is often referred to as aging in place, and you've probably heard this term quite a bit. However, retirement residences also use that same terminology, and they use it to describe their approach to providing gradually increasing support for seniors that are living in their facilities. So I just like to start with my feeling on that whole concept. I think that I'm not alone in finding that term a little bit vague, a little bit confusing. So I like to use the more active and purposeful term, thriving in the right place. So regardless of where one lives, the goal is to find the best path to thriving. And I believe that that path is found through being well prepared and creating a plan. So we'll first start with the why. Why plan ahead? Most seniors want to stay in their home as long as they can, and 80 to 90% of them at age 65 will say that that is their goal. But to be successful with this goal, one must have relatively good physical and cognitive health and must be safe in that environment. And in the context of safe, I mean safe from falling or from other preventable accidents or injuries. And when these things, so physical and cognitive health, change over time, you need to be prepared to get the help that is needed to accommodate for what you can no longer do on your own. Hoping for the best is not a good plan, but unfortunately, it's quite a common approach. So I'm sure that you have met seniors who really don't want to talk or think about what the future holds, and they are just hoping that everything will work out okay. And what we see happen when seniors don't have a plan for their coming years are the following things. We see family members, primarily the adult children, that can get very worried and anxious and start to put pressure on their parents. And this can cause stress and strained family dynamics. Without a plan, the primary caregivers, whether that be a spouse or an adult child, often become burned out and can become ill themselves. We see that quite often. Important decisions that are left until a crisis occurs are often made with limited information. There's limited choices and you might end up having to wait on wait lists to get that support. And so finally, when that access to care is delayed because of it not being available when you need it, there might be a negative impact on health. To further emphasize why it's important to plan ahead, we can look at a quote from Dr. Avery, who was the past president of the Canadian Medical Association. In 2012, which was like almost 10 years ago, and it really hasn't changed much, the report on seniors' healthcare, he stated that the healthcare system is not working as it was designed to when it comes to the senior population. He goes on to state that we provide high quality care, but often patients have waited far too long to receive it. In fact, there are dozens of reports and studies from the federal, provincial government, from non-governmental agencies that all have similar statements. Many of these reports highlight how poorly seniors fare in our reactive and acute focused healthcare system. They go on to make recommendations that seniors should be planning ahead for their future in terms of their care requirements, their finances, their medical decision-making, and who their caregivers will be. But there is also acknowledgement that there are very few system supports to help families plan ahead, and that the onus is on seniors and their families to do so. I concur with Dr. Avery that we do provide a very high quality care. If you're in an accident or if you have a serious illness, the hospitals and specialists are wonderful. But where our system is failing is that there isn't enough support or attention to preventing illness, injury, and accidents for seniors. As we age, we do not fare very well with aggressive surgeries and medical interventions. We need to be more proactive to help keep seniors and older adults healthy and safe. Unfortunately, we have heard more than a few times, and more so in this past year, quite upsettingly, that families have been advised by our overly strained public health system to wait until the situation is critical and then to bring their loved one into the emergency for care. And this is shockingly dismaying approach to caring for our older adults. And I'm glad you're here today to build an understanding on how to avoid this from happening. So let's get into the details on how to create a proactive seniors plan. This is based on how we do it with our clients, and I've broken it into 4 main steps to consider. Our approach in going through these steps is in the format of a family meeting. We like to have as many family members together as possible, ideally in person, but often we'll link them in via video conferencing if they live out of town. And this helps to be sure that we can incorporate everybody's viewpoint and build a consensus or alignment so that everyone is on the same page and working together cohesively. Sometimes family dynamics can be challenging, and it might be helpful to have a facilitator who is from outside the family to help keep this discussion moving along and being productive. Sometimes there isn't any family. You may not have any extended family to join in which case there's no reason you can't go through these steps on your own, or you can ask a friend or an advisor to help. We tend to do this planning work in 1 to 2 meetings, but if you are doing this on your own, you can take it in smaller bites. It's quite a lot of work when we do it in 2 meetings, but just to be sure that you keep the momentum going, and that you keep trying to work towards building the plan over a reasonable period of time. I'd suggest you target 1 month at maximum. You don't want to kind of drag this out too long and not ever get to the point of having that plan structured and formalized. Okay, into the steps. So step 1 is to do 2 very important things. I'd like you to identify what your aging well goals and wishes are. These goals and wishes are the target that we are aiming for with the plan. Sometimes seniors are hesitant to open up about this planning process if they feel that they are going to be pushed in a certain direction or lose their control. But by focusing on what their wishes are, it builds a confidence that their goals are the focus of this endeavor. We also want to know what the primary concerns and worries are. What is keeping you or your loved ones up at night, causing stress, causing anxiety? We like to hear the goals and wishes, the worries and concerns from the senior or seniors when it's a couple, and from the family members, because there will often be some overlap between those goals and wishes, worries and concerns, and there'll often be some differences between them as well. The most common goal we hear is, I'd like to stay in my home for as long as I can. But other common statements are, I'd like for my spouse, who's my caregiver, to have more support. Or I'd like for my spouse to have a break in taking care of me. Or I have a goal of an upcoming event or trip or wedding or something that I might want to go to. Those tend to be the common goals we hear from the seniors. From the adult children, they often say that they'd like mom or dad to have the support that they need so that they don't have to struggle. Or they'd like their parents to stay in their home, but they want to make sure that they're safe if they're going to do so. Or they'd like their parents to be closer to where they are. Both the wishes and the worries help to form the foundation of your proactive plan. So this is why it's step 1, is to spend some time figuring out what the wishes and goals are, what the concerns and worries are. Okay, step 2 is to become a detective. You want to dig in deep to all the facets of the older adult's life and create a comprehensive list of all of the current or potential problems that could negatively impact aging well. This is where we're trying to get ahead of potential issues and crises by being proactive and identifying them before they become critical. When we do this, we go through a very structured process so that we don't miss anything. We have about 200 questions that we inquire about. Through these questions, we can identify what the potential issues are for this individual or couple. The list of issues is different for everybody because everyone has a different and unique situation. So if you're doing this for yourself or for a loved one, try and consider the following categories to dig into. You want to look into their medical health. What is the medical situation, the diagnosis, the medications that they're taking? You want to look into their cognitive health. How is their memory? And their mental health. How is their mental wellness? You want to look into their physical and functional limitations. What are they or are they not able to do from a physical perspective? How are they managing with their personal care and how are they managing in their home? What supports are in place or might be needed? How are they functioning from a social perspective? What the house is like, what sort of modifications might be required? And finally, how is their financial and legal preparedness for aging? So to demonstrate that, that's a lot of things to think about. I'll just give you an example of our client, Ida. Sorry, I almost call her Ella. Our client, Ida. Ida is an 82-year-old widow. She's living alone in a condo. She's on a modest fixed income, and she's an accomplished artist. Her only child, Alan, is her primary caregiver. He reached out to us because he could see that she was declining quickly in the past year and was worried that she might need to move into a senior's residence, even though he knew that's not what she wanted to do. Al was getting close to being maxed out in terms of his available time to help his mom with day-to-day things. His job and his family commitments were very busy. For Ida, her goal was very much to stay in her home, for as long as she could reasonably do so. Al wanted that for her, but was worried about her safety. So even though she was living at home independently, she had a fairly significant list of issues that we discovered. And I'd say on average, we find at least a dozen issues that need to be addressed with every senior or couple that we meet. So Ida was confused and disoriented. She was losing track of her bills, not following through on things that Alan had asked her to do. She wasn't sure what medication she was on and why, and so she wasn't very good at taking it on a consistent schedule. She was really quite lonely. She didn't have much of a social network, and she certainly wasn't getting out of the house very much anymore. Her hearing wasn't good, and so she was uncomfortable being in social settings. Physically, Ida had sore knees and a sore back. Sorry, my phone keeps ringing, so distracting. So physically, Ida had sore knees and a sore back. She had gained some weight in the past few years and mobility was difficult for her. She was not eating or sleeping well. She was primarily eating packaged food that she would pick up from the convenience store nearby. She wasn't sleeping well, finding it hard to get in and out of her bed, so she slept on her lazy boy recliner, which certainly didn't help her back. And she had no support coming into the home other than her son. She didn't have an updated will since her husband passed, and she did not have a personal directive or power of attorney. So when being a detective, try and look broadly at health and wellness and safety and come up with as detailed of a list as possible of all the things that either aren't going well or look like they have the potential to be a problem in the future. And this list can be as long as it needs to be. So step 3. Step 3 is to address each issue that has been identified with a very specific plan that will either eliminate the issue or minimize the risk as much as possible. This is where research about what supports and services and programs and clinics and resources comes in. It can be very difficult to find this information. It's very siloed and hard to find. The public health system really just knows about their own public health services and programs. And sometimes I find they don't even really know what they provide themselves. You meet some people that know what all the services are and some that totally don't even know that they exist. So it's really hit and miss depending on who you talk to. There's lots of supports in the private sector, but it's really hard to find that information too, because they're all small little businesses that are just doing their thing. And unless you know to look for them, you're going to have a hard time finding them. And then there's all the stuff that's offered through government programming, government benefits, nonprofit organizations. That information can be really hard to find too. And so it takes a long time to figure out what all these different services are that you can benefit from. This is why you need to plan ahead and give yourself that time. So when we create an action plan for each problem or concern, we make sure to be very specific. You want to know what the support resource is. How can you access it? When do you access it? Where do you access it? How much does it cost? The more detail you can provide and find out about, the better. Sometimes one solution will cover more than one issue. It's also very important to identify who in your personal support team is responsible to move forward with this action. So we like to designate a person that's their task to take on that particular strategy and follow it through. And that way everybody knows what their specific role is. Some people in your family or friends or professional support team will be better than others. I don't know why this phone has to ring so much when I'm doing this, at following through on these tasks. So you want to try and align the task with the person who is the most comfortable taking it on. We like to encourage people to find their right balance between family and friends providing support and then filling the gaps with outside service providers. You want to make sure that the people you are asking to help you are comfortable in that role and that you spread out the tasks among a broad group of supporters. We did a webinar last week on how to build your support team, and you're most welcome to view that. You can find it on our website. Okay, we then put the actions in order of urgency, making sure that things that are high risk are addressed first and things that are not urgent are moved to a later schedule. It is important not to overwhelm yourself or your loved ones by having too many tasks to do it all at once. We usually spread them out over a few months. So returning to Ida, for example, we took her to the doctor to get her medications reviewed. He was able to take her off a couple of medications that she no longer needed and to explain what she needed to take and why, so she would be more adherent. Public home care was arranged to come in once per day to help her with the medications and to help her shower twice a week. The doctor ordered blood work to see if there was any medical reason for her confusion, such as a potential infection, which is very, very common. We took her to a hearing clinic for testing. She, in fact, did have significant hearing loss, so they ordered hearing aids for her right away, and being low income, she qualified for funding, so there was no cost. Ida opted to have her son, Al, manage her finances and bill payments, so she prepared and enacted a power of attorney. We set her up on a low-income grocery delivery service so that she could have better quality food to eat, and we had the AHS, occupational therapist, come in to assess her home for safety, and they ordered and installed a bath seat, a shower handle, safety bars, and a railing for her bed so she could get in and out easier. And then now she was sleeping in her bed again. We helped her apply for access to Calgary so that she could get around town, and this freed her up to be able to participate in an adult day program twice a week. Because she could hear better and she was eating better, she was much less confused and much more interested in socializing. At the day program, they realized her art talents and had her teach some of the classes to the other participants. She absolutely loved it. This plus a number of other issues took us about 4 months to work our way through. So this cartoon says, here's your support, Dad, and here's mine. So those who are just listening, the daughter is handing a cane to her father as his support, and she's got her arm around a home caregiver who's her support. So I think it's indicating that she needs some help in her role as the caregiver, and her dad needs some help as well. So it's important to look at everybody's needs in this scenario. So in terms of services that seniors often require, the list is endless. There's so many supports and services out there, but what we find is most people don't know what's available, and so they don't get the help. In fact, Al, Ida's son, he put it perfectly when he said, you don't know what you don't know. And so I want you to realize there's tons of support. It just takes time to figure out what you need and then time to figure out what those supports and services are. So step 4. Step 4 is consider contingency planning. So we feel that it's very important to talk about the what ifs. And this is best done after a plan has been created that addresses the initial goals and wishes. At this point, the senior will often feel ready to consider discussing what their choices and wishes would be if things don't go according to plan. Plans are great, but without them, we would see little to no progress towards achieving a goal. But we have to be realistic and realize that things can change quickly and unexpectedly sometimes. And it's important to think through what one's preferences are prior to being in a crisis situation. We like to discuss alternative housing preferences and even have our clients tour a few options so that should they need to make a move, they will already have considered what's important to them. We also like to talk about caregiver backup. If one spouse is the primary caregiver and something were to happen to them, what would happen to the person who they're caring for? That plan needs to be written up and decided upon. And finally, we like our clients to consider what would need to be put in place if they unexpectedly went to the hospital. Who's going to look after their home? Who's going to look after their pets? So there's a number of things to consider in case something unexpected happens. Always better to have thought it through ahead of time and to have a plan in place. These Plan B conversations are difficult to have, but they're easier once the senior is feeling comforted and successful in making their Plan A. We also like to make sure, oh, I talked about that already. Finally, keep in mind that plans often need to be adjusted. So we like to follow up regularly and check in to see how things are going and make adjustments and tweaks to things as they go along. So those of you who are doing your own planning or helping a loved one, remember this is a fluid process and that it's okay to make adjustments and change course as time goes on. So the picture here for those who are listening in is of a senior going up a stairwell that's out of order. So her contingency plan is she's hooked up her dog to pull her up on the mechanical stair lift. I thought that was quite cute. Okay, so the outcome from building a proactive plan is great. Some of the less obvious benefits are that we can optimize who is helping and how. We find that sometimes there's a discrepancy in families on who wants to help and what they're comfortable doing. It can go both ways. Sometimes kids want to help their parents, but the parents are not wanting to be a burden, so they don't let them in. And the opposite, where parents have really high expectations of what their children or child is able to do to help, and the children are simply not able or not comfortable with some of those requests. So what we are able to do is maximize everybody's ability and desire to help in the role that they want, and then fill the gaps with outside services or support. So be thoughtful in trying to understand with your family caregivers what they want to do, what they're good at, what they're comfortable with. And then if there's gaps, that's when you can look out to the community. Going through this process helps to really align who is best and capable of helping, when, where, and how. Another benefit through this process is that clients become aware of support and programs that they never would have known existed, and thus are more likely to get help when it's needed, simply because they know what help is available. This process allows seniors to preserve their choice and independence. Seniors are so concerned about losing these two values, and by planning ahead, you truly get to keep both choice and independence because you have more options to choose from and because you've got the support that you need to continue to remain independent. A lot of people think that by getting help, they're not independent anymore, but that's not true. By getting help, you can stay independent longer. When you have time to strategize, seniors can be sure to access as many free or subsidized services as possible. If you leave it too late, all those low-cost options have disappeared and you're often left having to pay for services. And finally, planning ahead helps families to enjoy their time together without feeling anxious or at odds with each other. And this is a picture of our Seniors Housing Support Advisor, Judy, with Ida. Okay, wealth planning and health planning. An analogy I like to share with people is the similarity between wealth planning and health planning. Everyone knows the benefit of getting personalized professional advice to create a financial retirement plan, a plan that's also based on your goals and wishes. Similarly, families need support in creating a comprehensive individual health and wellness plan for aging. So if you understand why you would plan for your finances, you should understand why you should plan for your health. So in summary, being proactive and planning ahead has many good outcomes, such as improved health and well-being for everyone, not just the senior or seniors in question, but for their loved ones as well. Less stress, less anxiety. You're prepared to ask the right questions to the right people at the right time. If you leave things too late, that's a really difficult thing to be accomplished. Actionable steps with a specific timeline equal goal achievement. If you have a plan and you know what steps you need to take, you're going to be moving that ball forward and you're going to be getting progressively more capable of staying healthy, happy, and safe. You need a plan to make sure you're doing those tasks and moving it forward. Family caregivers are much more supported. You know what your optimal housing is for safety and support. And you can understand and predict your future care and costs. So this is really important. By planning ahead, you won't be surprised at the things that do have a cost and how to fit that into your financial plan, because you've already found that information out before you need it. You're educated and making decisions with maximum choice. Families are spending quality time together, and everybody is calm and confident and optimistic towards the future. That is the end of our presentation, and I now have lots of time for questions.
Thank you so much for that, Kathy. That was wonderful. If you would like to ask Kathy a question, you can do it in a couple different ways. If you would like to use your audio and ask her a question, just hit the little icon of the hand that says raise hand, and I can unmute your mic. Or you could just type her a question in the chat box or in the Q&A box. And those who have joined us by phone, I will also unmute, I'll ask you to unmute your phone. If you would like to ask a question, you just have to press *6. Oh, and we have our first question just in the Q&A. If you just click the chat box.
I don't see it. Is there a cost to this service? Barb, excellent question. Yes, so our planning service is $150 an hour. And we usually are working with families for about 10 hours, 10 or 15 hours total. I wonder if I should type that in. Should I type that in as well?
No, I think you're okay.
Okay. Oh, she got it. Thanks. You're welcome. And then if people are interested in our housing support, that's $550. And that service is helping people find the best place for them to live. Public, private, subsidized, doesn't matter. That is what we help people do. What kind of barriers have you seen in accessing planning? Well, certainly finding that information is one. We really find that the first step is understanding what you need help with, and that can be quite hard. So asking the people that are involved with the loved one what they're seeing as issues. That's why it's so important to bring everybody together as a team so they can all weigh in. What a daughter will see as an issue isn't the same concern that a son might see. It might not be the same concern that the parents themselves see. So when you pool all that together, you get a more full picture of what all the different concerns are. So that's the first barrier, is really deeply understanding what the problems are or what the potential problems are. So the more people thinking about that and talking about that, you'll get a more complete picture of things to address. And then the second step is finding the resources to address that problem. And so that takes time. You know, you can look online, you can call specialists like ourselves, you can talk to Sage or Kirby in Calgary. There's so many resources out there, but there's so many resources that people don't know about. So I would say those are the two biggest barriers, figuring out what you need help with, and then figuring out who's available to help. Hopefully that answers your question, person who posed that question. Could you put up the last screen showing the resources? Oh yeah, I can probably do that. Hang on. The big list, or let me see. Let's see from the beginning. And then we'll go down to the last screen. Are you seeing this properly, Amber?
I'm seeing the one with your speaker notes on it.
Okay, so what did I need to do differently there? Oh, we need to swap. Okay, now do you see the right ones?
I sure do. Yeah.
Okay, so I don't know whether it was this one, which has a whole bunch of resources, but this is just seriously just a portion of what's out there and available. But this is a list of the types of resources that are available. I'm not sure if that's the screen you meant, or else then there's a screen at the end that has our information to access, but you said the last screen, so I'm not sure which one you meant. What is your contact info? Okay, Jackie, we'll get to that. I'll just leave this on for a moment and then I'll scroll down to that. Can you see that? That's our contact info. So if you're listening in, Jackie, you can find us at proactiveseniors.ca, or you can email us. You can email me directly at Kathy with a K, K-A-T-H-Y, at proactiveseniors.ca, or you can reach us on the phone at 403-809-1971. So I wonder if Anonymous, if that was the screen you were looking for, you can just let me know. It was the last page. Okay. So is this the one that you're thinking of with our contact information? Any other questions? Just feel free. And, you know, if you just have a really simple question or you just want to know a little bit more about, you know, how we can help, or maybe just have a really simple question, always feel free to reach out to us. We're really happy to just point you in the right direction. Okay, Belinda, can you help find affordable health caregiver, not through home care? Have you found caregivers who can speak other languages? If yes, what would this cost be approximately? Yeah, it is really hard. It's really hard to find caregivers outside of home care agencies. We know all of the home care agencies. We have a handful that we really like to work with, that we have really good, strong relationships with, and they often have caregivers that speak multiple languages. If you're looking to hire a caregiver privately, just reach out to me with an email. I can send you a few links on some private caregiver finding sites, but it can be really challenging. It's quite a bit of work to find a privately hired caregiver. They are less expensive though. If you're paying an agency, you're paying around $30 to $35 an hour. If you're paying a private caregiver, you can pay closer to $20 an hour. But there is something called I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head right now, but public health. If you qualify for home care, sometimes they will designate some of those dollars to you and you can use them to hire your own caregiver. Self-managed care, that's what it's called. Self-managed care is a way that you can use public health dollars to offset the cost of hiring your own caregiver. So hopefully that helps, Belinda. But the average cost of an agency caregiver is between $30 and $35 an hour. And then public home care is free, which is wonderful, but they're really busy, so it's hard to get as much support from them as you might hope to have. What are my bi-monthly webinars? Thank you so much for asking. So we used to do them every month. We just now switched to every other month. But we do a free webinar on so many different topics, and you can actually see all of them. We started in November of last year because we used to do a lot of presentations, and then with COVID, we were doing less presentations, so we really felt like our education component of what we like to do was lacking. So we started doing webinars. So we have saved them all, recorded all of them. You can find them on our website under the education tab, and you can re-listen to them. We attached all the PowerPoint slides for all of them, or any handouts. You can share them with people. So check out the ones we've done, and then the plan is to continue doing them every other month. So this past one was about building your team, so how to build your support team, and we used a football analogy, which was really quite helpful to picture who's the quarterback and who's the special teams manager. That was the first one, and then our next one in November will be the second part of that, helping people to work towards aging in place. So kind of similar content to today, but we've got all sorts of different really interesting guest speakers, and feel free to go listen to them whenever you would like to, Kevin. And to join us, you just need to sign up for our newsletter, and then that goes out usually a week before our webinar, and then you can get the Eventbrite link from that newsletter. Or that's probably the best way to know about them, or just put them in your calendar. It's the third Thursday of every other month at 2 o'clock. Barb, you are welcome, Barb. I am glad you're going to think about planning now. So important. I'm just absolutely passionate about it. It makes the world a difference. We've seen some amazing, amazing successes in terms of seniors being able to stay healthy and safe a whole lot longer, which is what the goal is.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for this, Kathy. This was a phenomenal session, and thank you all for joining us.